Disability is an issue that is here with us, and as a society, we need to come together and face it. Hence, unity is strength. As we continue with this subject, we call upon the government and all other stakeholders to come on board and continue with their support for people living with disability. Hello and welcome to Family Matters, a program designed to look into and solve problems affecting families. I am your host, Timothy Omondi.
Lone Star, where are you out tonight? This feeling I'm trying to find.
Despite him being disabled and facing many challenges in life while growing up, Kefa Anyanzwa is a very jovial man and who has chosen to face his life and the challenges that he meets every day with courage. His courage has seen him make several appearances in our local dailies because he is such an inspiration to many. His story is certainly one you would like to sit down and listen to.
I'm a physically disabled person that I use a wheelchair. I was walking and running until I was 8 years old, and then I got an injection that actually paralyzed me. I started using this wheelchair when I was 8 years old, and I was just a normal child. Then after 8 years, I got polio, and I became paralyzed. And from that time onwards, I started using a wheelchair. That was the cause of my disability.
For some kind of sign.
Parents were very disappointed with the doctor who did this kind of injection to me. And since this doctor was a white, and during those days, 38 years ago, they didn't have that power to even have money to sue the doctor. So they were just disappointed the doctor, and they took me back home from the hospital, and they started trying to treat me to see if I could regain my strength and walk again, but it was not possible. Most of the people around our area rejected my parents and said it was a curse, and that's why you had this kind of a particular child in the family, and they didn't like the whole family at all. So, and in that environment, my parents had a lot of pity on me because I was the cause of them being rejected by the other members of the family and the neighbors around.
Now, I remember that this one family I used to visit with a relative of mine, and I did know that they had a disabled child until one day, as we were talking in the living room, because someone had forgotten to lock up her room, she came out. And the father was shouting, "My gosh, who let her out? Who put her back?" So now you look at a child like that who is locked up, kept away like an animal. Definitely it affects them, and it makes their condition even worse. In fact, the stigma is more difficult to deal with than the disability itself.
I may say that one of the reasons maybe people will tend to, isolate people who are handicapped is that also some of them, you find out that they are shameful to their family members. Imagine, for example, a very nice looking family which doesn't have anything wrong, but then they have a mentally disabled child.
Being disabled does not necessarily mean that one is unable. Disability and inability are two different things. And I want you to know that as we talk, my lawyer is physically disabled. My best friend is a professor who cannot hear or talk. Okay? So what I am saying is that what we call disability has nothing to do with ability. Most of the times it can be overcome. The only thing those people need to fear is fear itself and despair.
There's something that you have to realize. It's not that people isolate these people actually for nothing. Somehow these people who are sick, who are disabled, whether it's mentally, whether it's somehow they are like burdensome to their families where they are born, you know, burdensome to the people around them. Also, they will be in need of, you know, extra care. So when the family members or other people are not ready to give that extra care, they tend to avoid the person.
Kitambo nilikuwa natembea, lakini venye nilifika class 2 miguu ikakataa kutembea, nikaanza kuumwa. Nilikuwa naumwa na miguu kwa magoti. Ndio sasa nikapeleka hospitali Kenyatta, nikaenda nikakaa huko, nikaambiwa nitumie wheelchair. Alafu venye niliambiwa nitumie wheelchair, nikaenda nikaambiwa nianze kutembea na woka kidogo. Kutembea na woka tena nikavunjika miguu. Nikapelekwa Kenyatta tena. Wakaniambia ati nisirudi kutembea na woka, niendange na wheelchair. Wenye sisi tunaambiwa mambo mabaya na watu wengine, tunasikianga vibaya kwa sababu naonanga ni kama mimi naambiwa.
It is the duty of every parent to protect their children. However, being overprotective can do much harm than good, and so isolating a child with disability in the name of protecting them can have a lifelong damage to that child. Isolating them only further separates them from not only the community, but from whom they really are. And it is therefore important to get these children fully involved with other people.
My childhood was very difficult because in most cases, as a child, I loved playing with other children. But whenever I crawled down, because I didn't have a wheelchair at that particular time. And whenever I crawled to go and play wherever the other children are playing, they would run away from myself and I'd be left there alone. So in most cases, I kept to myself. And the parents of those children told them, don't play with this disabled child. So every other time that I tried to say, look here, even if I'm disabled, why don't you want to play with me? But they told me that the parents don't allow them to play with me. So it's like I found a lot of difficulties. And in that particular situation, I became very cruel that I used to beat children. So I lived a very petty life in most cases because I was almost on my own.
Of course, they feel neglected. They feel like outcasts, like they are not wanted.
When I started going to school, I went to school in Nile Road Special School. This was a school actually for children with disabilities, and my mother used to carry me on her back every morning and in the evening. And even my mother was not very much willing to take me to school because she felt that even if she takes me to school, I would not make it in life. And there was the Catholics came and paid a visit and told my mother that they will only give my mother milk 3 times a week on condition that he takes me to school and the head teacher signs the book that I have been in that school. And because we were poor, that is the time that my mother felt that for her to get the milk from the sisters, she has to carry me on her back, take me to school, and bring back in the evening. And it continued until I finished my standard 7.
Disabled people are largely minority groups and face different challenges. They are mostly ignored by society, living in isolation, segregation, poverty, and even It is due to discrimination that some don't get the opportunity to visit public places and get to enjoy the rights which normal people do. Some are even deprived of education and employment.
My school was even more cumbersome because I went to Kangaroo High School, and that is the place where I got a lot of problems because I went to mix with children who are not disabled. And I had to forgo my food so that I could be pushed on a wheelchair from one lecture room to the other, from one class to the other. Because I had only 2-3 friends, and these friends of mine could push me on condition that I give them meat and an egg every morning. So I had to forego those good food so that I can be pushed with these boys and be taken from one class to the other. So that was, it was a very hard moment in my secondary school. And most of the time, I missed lessons because if I didn't have enough food that particular time to give to these children, then I would be left somewhere in my dormitory and nobody will come and take me and the lesson will be gone.
Actually, God doesn't curse anyone. Somehow, this being unable, being a handicap could be, a condition that will bring about a heart to rely on God. As you know, people rely on men, and the Bible says that cursed is the man who trusts in man, cursed is the man who makes arms his flesh. But no, people want to trust in men and also they want to rely on themselves. But then if there's nothing that I can rely on within myself, then automatically the heart to rely on God will grow, within me. But now people don't want to rely on God, they want to trust in themselves. Actually, the real curse that man can ever meet in his life is to go to hellfire. The Bible says that in the book of Matthew 25, that people who are cast away into hellfire, they're the ones who are the most, miserable. Otherwise, to be a handicap, to be, somebody who has got a certain, physical or mental inability, mentally retarded person, this can never be, this can never be and will never be a curse in the eyes of God,
I was lucky that a white lady came to Kenya and she got me a scholarship and I got a sponsorship and went to Stockholm State University for a period of 2 years. That's where I went to study, and when I was there, I had developed some mechanical engineering myself. So I went to learn mobility transport, and that's what I do for a living. I make vehicles for disabled people, and I modify motorized wheelchairs for the disabled people, because I think that I don't want them to suffer the way I suffered when I was a young child. And in addition to that, I also run a special school called Star Disability Training Center for children with disability. Because I also realize that most of these children are left at home, they are hidden in their houses, nobody wants to take care of them. So I thought that since I have the courage, I should also try as much as possible with the little money that I have and what I get from friends and from well-wishers, I should also try to take care of these children. So I double up as an engineer. I'm an engineer by profession, and I also take care of the children that come to the homes, because most of the parents don't like leaving these children because they think that these children should just be left in the homes.
Disability, as it were, is not an inability. The society we live in seems not to have recognized this. When I got injured, for example, and survived the road crash, I did not lose everything. There is something that was left in me. The child who is born with a disability does not mean they cannot do one or two things. That adult who lives with a disability does not mean they lost everything. The question is, are we ready as a society to let those who live with physical challenges, disability, optimize on what that little that was left? The question is, what do you have left? And the society should help those of us who live with the challenges to maximize, optimize that little that we are left with. The family is key for our survival. Family support. As I just said, mother, father out there, brother, sister out there, please, I know you care about us. And by caring about us, not hiding us, bring us out, support us. And like for my case, and many of us who are like this, who live with the physical disabilities and other forms of disability, the family support is key. We can't overemphasize this. We need the family first to recognize our ability in disability.
He could no longer walk. He has to be on a wheelchair throughout. He needs to be given a lot of support in terms of mobility. He needs a car all the time. If he needs to move from one point to another, however short the distance, because the wheelchair may not maneuver in all areas and may not travel long distances using a wheelchair. He needs to be assisted to feed, to do the daily chores that a normal human being will do on his own. So without the family support, it will be very difficult for him.
The kind of support I'm giving him as my dad, I sometimes help in feeding him or help him move around the house. And sometimes if he's going to places, I can as well support him to wherever he is going, and we can go together. It has been quite a challenging thing to do, but I learned how to cope with it, accept the reality and move on with life. For other children out there who have parents with disability, I urge you to support them, both physically, psychologically and emotional. Love them, protect them, support them in all ways, because they are human and they also need our support.
I think treating them, of course, they want to, they should encourage the person to know that he is a member of the family like any other member. Okay, it is nice to know and accept the fact that someone is disabled, but we should also make it clear to them that being disabled does not mean that nothing is expected of you. You are a member of the family, you can function in different areas of life, and yes, you can be a productive member of the family, despite your disability.
The family, to me, is an important asset in my life, because at a given time when I'm not able to go from point 1 to point 2, my children push me and take me to wherever I want. So they are the ones, they are my closest friends, even than my own brothers, because they are always together with me and they value me. Actually, they used to face rejection when I was not driving. But since I was able to afford to have a car and drive them to school, then that rejection ceased to be there, because some of them go to school on foot, and me, I'm able to drive my children to school. So that rejection is not there. In fact, they wonder how I drive my car. They look at me and see a different person, and that rejection is not there at the moment. However, in other families where people like me have not achieved that goal, or have felt that they need pity and they depend on begging, they face a lot of rejection from the family. Because one is, you are a disabled person on a wheelchair and you still go begging on the streets of Nairobi, and you have children, people will always ask, and who pregnated this person? Why is it that so-and-so has the child? If he can't even afford to take care of the child, why is he begging on the streets of Nairobi? So, like in my family, my children don't feel rejection, because I take care of them, I feed them, I take them, I do everything that a normal person who is not disabled would do, and even more than able person would do.
Alipanga mpango wake kwamba mimi niwe jinsi nilivyo, mbona sasa hamnidhamini, mwaniona kama sifai? Sikuchagua niwe jinsi nilivyo, nikitembea barabarani macho mmenikazia, mbio mbio mwaniondokea, mimi ni kama nyinyi.
I had to struggle. I even became a referee in given times because I wanted to play. I forced myself into games even when I was not needed there. So those are the challenges that I had, and I lived in Eastland where children isolated me, and even as much as you isolated me, I would move to wherever you are. We would play together, and those are the challenges that I moved on. And it is because of those challenges that I saw that as I grow up and become a big person and having achieved whatever I had achieved, it's also good that I also look at what can I give the society, particularly people with disabilities. That's why I went and focused on disability, that is taking care of these children with disability, and also making motorized wheelchairs and designing vehicles that can be driven by disabled people.
Kwa nini wanidharau? Kwa nini wanidharau? Na mimi ni kama tuwe. Na mimi ni kama.
That's why I'm putting more emphasis that it's good for us to come and, get this kind of motorbikes from my own workshop, whereby you can easily purchase it at a very low cost price and then be able to ride it yourself. This is the accelerator of the motorbike, and this is the brake. You see, we have removed the brake that instead of using the hand control, the leg control, you just use the hand control. And this is how you brake. And this is the hand brake. Then you pull it behind this side, up to this side. Then it brakes. The vehicle cannot move. And it has a tank that is very big, and this is very economically. And also it carries 2 passengers. And this is, we are talking about accessibility for people with disability. For people who can afford to buy a bit more, I advise them to buy cars. If you can't afford to buy a car, then you go in for a motorbike. But if you can afford to buy a car, then I can also modify it. That it uses these gadgets that when you are putting down, you are braking, and when you're pulling it up, you are accelerating. The braking system of this car and this accelerator.
It is stories like this that make one stop, look at life in a different light, and appreciate what God has blessed you with. Imagine a man like Kefa doing the unthinkable, and through his efforts, notwithstanding the fact that he is physically challenged, is helping other people with disabilities. The fact that he can't walk didn't deter him from reaching his destiny. Finally, it gives much pleasure to know that people like Kefa are doing something positive with their lives.
Being disabled does not mean that your life has stopped. It doesn't mean that life doesn't go on. You can do anything if you set your mind at it. It's all about your attitude towards your life. Most of the people might get disabled if, for instance, they used to walk and they get a spine injury. They will undergo a lot of pressure. They will get depressed. They will want to give up. However, from Wycliffe's story, we have realized that that's not all. There's more to life as long as you are willing to keep an open mind and face life. Face your fears and move out of your comfort zone and act upon your dreams. If you have a dream, you can realize it. Let not your disability hold you back. You can achieve all your goals by changing your attitude and looking for opportunities in everything that is around you.
There are so many challenges of bringing up a disabled child because the needs of a disabled child are more than you can call. But I would like to give them hope that they should not isolate these children from the others. They should bring them together, try to give them education, try to help them where they can, just the way my mother helped me to be what I am today. So I want to give them hope that for people and even for the neighbors and for everybody, they should be able to help these children that they can live a better life and be better citizens in the future. Okay, the kind of children that I have at Kawe Star Special School, Stroke Star Disability Training Center, are children with cerebral palsy. Some of these children are wheelchair users that are not able to be taken care of at home. So I take them in here so that we can help them in different work. Some of them are Down syndromes, and some of them are mentally handicapped children, and some of them are cerebral palsy children. What have you eaten today? Ugali. Was it nice? Yes. Okay, that is very good. For the people who are physically challenged themselves, don't live don't feel that you are, now that you are disabled, now that you are a blind person, now that you are a deaf person, now that you are a physical person and you can't do anything. You have a talent that you can do. You should focus and do so many things. We have even, I understand that one of the person in America was a president and he was on a wheelchair. So I think that I should give hope that there's everything for us. There's bread on the table for every disabled person, as long as you leave that cartel of being disabled and live a meaningful life. Or what I would give the relationship to the disabled and their caregivers is that a caregiver is only there for a particular time, but there will come a time when this disabled person will stand and be on his own or her own. So I would also want to tell the caregivers that continue giving the love you have for these disabled children. Continue helping them. And I also want to appeal to the donors. Come up in strongly and help these organizations that are helping people with disabilities, homes like mine, so that we can uplift these children and they can live better.
I want the government to be very vigilant on that field of disability, so that it is really done immediately the child is seen, is taken to a place, or there is a group of, the government can form a vigilance of people so that the deaf one, the disabled one can be identified as this youth. Yeah. So that his help immediately comes up. Yeah. They should not wait until somebody is grown up. When a tree grows up and then you turn to pen, then it will break. So you really look at you as if you are playing with him. Where was this person when I was still young? I would go to school, but now when I'm an old man like this, let me die a natural death.
What I want to say is that it is never good to discriminate or isolate disabled people, because they have maybe the same knowledge than normal people. They are also able to work like normal people. They only had to be a chance to educate. And that's the problem here. If you can't work, it's not possible to get a good education. And which person in the family will pay for a disabled people when they can then isolate? In Germany, it's forbidden to isolate disabled people in case we have to help them. And we pay a lot of money to help such people. And this is what is good here, to also to broadcast to the government that they should make funds to help these people and learn from Germany. That's what I can say to this.
We now have the National Council for Persons with Disability that is coming up and trying to help people with disabilities. But the kind of funds that they are given is not enough. For example, we have cash transfer that is given to be given to the disabled persons, 2,000 shillings a month. This money is not enough. 2,000 shillings is very little to take care of a disabled person, even for a week. So I would ask the government to top up also and know very well that the disabled people need to be given even more funds so that they can live a better life than any other person.
I work for the Association for the Physically Disabled of Kenya. What the organization does, they provide services to persons with disabilities in terms of mobility aids and any other need like physiotherapy, empowerment needs through microfinance. Generally, we deal with physical disabilities, but we also venture into other disabilities. Whenever they come to us, we are able to advise and even to refer. There is great need for the government to come in because there are so many people with various needs for these devices. and we are not able to meet all the needs. So we invite the government to come in so that we can be able to reach out to the people who need our services in a more appropriate manner. Yeah, because we have so many itches. For instance, well, we might be in a position to identify a need that a person with disability have, but because of the financial constraints, we may not be able to provide a device to this person. Yeah, so when the government chips in, maybe by providing the funds, us as an organization, we are able to produce these devices and give to the right people who needs them. Yeah.
So we try to help them and make them to understand how to live meaningful life by behavioral change, and help them with different activities in their daily life. So what I do, that I'm training them in art, the art that they can be able to do. Like, for example, making this kind of item, you see, using these necklaces and so on. So this is what they do in the afternoon. And then we make them sleep early because I also want them to relax. After the children have grown up and they have finished their training here, I send them back to their homes or to their caregivers, and we train their caregivers and support them with some little money so that they can be able to start their own business, and we monitor the running of those businesses so that we have a program that after some time the child has to leave this place and go back to the caregiver or the mother, because normally these children don't have fathers. Fathers have, of course, run away from them, and the mothers take care of them, and in return we start for them some business that they can be able to earn something and put a bread on the table.
A man who's disabled and feels he cannot provide for the family just because he's disabled, or gets into the comfort zone of being done for things. There are many people who have disability, Wycliffe being one of them. He took it upon himself to find something he loves and did it passionately, and moved out of his comfort zone to challenge the norm. He has achieved things that other people who have legs and can walk have never imagined. He has used his creativity to move himself from the comfort zone of learned helplessness to I am able. Don't have the victim mentality of because I'm disabled, I cannot do. That's just a state of mind. Again, back to an attitude. We say a bad attitude is like a flat tire. You can't move anywhere. If you change your thought pattern to I can do it, as opposed to I cannot, you can move mountains. Disability is not inability. Sometimes we think if we don't have hands, or we don't have legs, or we can't see, or we can't hear, it means that we are unable, but that's not so. We have very many brave people, very many courageous people who have faced their fears and have faced their disability and have made something out of it, and they're touching many lives. There are people who eat with their legs. There are people who sense where they go by their senses. It's all about how much are you willing to challenge yourself to move from that discomfort. If you go on sitting on your comfort zone of inability, you are robbing yourself of life. Fear robs us of experiencing life to the fullest. Challenge yourself and move out of that comfort zone and achieve what other people never thought they would.
What I would advise other disabled people to overcome these issues is that never allow any person to think, to stand in front of you and say that you are a cripple, you are a disabled person. Shout him out and tell him you are not a disabled person. You are just a normal person. It's only that you are different in ability, but you can do better things than even himself.
Einstein said that I thank all those who said no to me because they have made me reach where I am. Do not listen to the external voices that say it's not possible. Believe in yourself and take it upon yourself to live your dream. It's all in your hands. You are able.
Treat them, be caring, but at the same time, don't show them, don't act like we are saying they are different. We treat them like other people in the family.
God covenanted together with Jesus, and through Jesus we can receive a lot of blessing, not because of who we are, not because of what we can do or what we cannot do, but because there is that kind of covenant in between God and Jesus. God who agreed with Jesus that Jesus was to come in the world and take care of our sin and justify us in the eyes of God, sanctify us once and for all, and translate into the kingdom of God. So that work Jesus has done. And regardless whether I'm physically fit or unfit, I can be able to receive this precious gospel. And this is a blessing to each one of us.
I appeal to you, give us a chance. And this chance will mean a lot to us. Let us develop the little that we have, and we can contribute. We can participate in community development. We can participate in education. We can participate in health programs. We can also tell you our story. Give us a chance.
At this juncture, I would like to call upon everyone, both the young and old, to join together and embrace these people living with disability by giving them a chance in this society. Remember, being disabled is not a curse, and it could happen to anyone. So the right thing to do is to give them care, support, and above all, love. Thank you very much for staying tuned to Family Matters. Until next time, if you have any comments, suggestions, or opinion, you can drop us an email on familymatters@gbskenya.com, or you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And also, you can get to watch this very episode on YouTube. May God bless you. I've been your host, Timothy.
'Cause I don't wanna go